Hey guys, thanks for watching. Right now, traveling is, well, interesting. For a lot of people, the best advice is just to stay home and stay safe. But let's talk about traveling during a pandemic. A lot of people read a lot of things before making their video, but I believe the best way to learn things is to experience them. Before we get started, take a minute to like this video and to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. At Study Travels, we talk about tips, stories, considerations, all about traveling. We'll give you one video every week. Let's get started. If you're like me, then staying home all the time means working all the time. That means that I need to travel. I thought about renting a convertible for 3 days and taking a road trip, but that just seemed like a lot of driving. So I decided to fly to Chicago instead. Whenever you take a trip right now, there are some things you should know and consider both before and during your travels to get the most out of your trip. I'm going to tell you a lot of things that I looked at before I decided to travel during a pandemic. First, the obvious. Look at your numbers for COVID-19 and have a few backup plans because numbers change quite a bit. Next, let's talk about flying. Flying right now is pretty nerve-wracking. You really want to feel safe on your plane. Your number one consideration is going to be which airline to use. Looking at US Airlines, there is a lot of variability. The CDC recommends you wear a face mask whenever social distancing is not possible. On an airplane, technically, having someone in front of you is within 6 feet. I mean, there's a giant seat there. But technically, it's not possible. Not a lot of airlines have just thrown their arms up in the air and said, "Oh, well, we can't do it, so we're not going to bother trying." And other ones leave the proverbial middle seat open. When I flew to Chicago, that meant because it was rows of 2 and 2, I had my own row basically. But you feel a whole lot more comfortable if there's not someone sitting next to you. There's a great USA Today article that shows you exactly what each airline does. So I advise looking at that. If you take a look at this seating chart, you'll see that there are seats next to each other. That's if you are in the same party, you can sit next to your spouse or your partner. If you book a single seat, then the other one will immediately become unavailable. Mid-air service was giving you a prepackaged bag that had a cookie, Cheez-Its, and a small bottle of water, and a sanitizer, of course. Speaking of sanitizers, once you get on the plane, you're going to be greeted by the flight attendant at the door with a Purell. And now what you want to do is you want to sanitize your air vents, your seat, your arms, whatever. They're supposed to do it all for you, but you should always make sure you do what you need to feel safe. And that brings us to the most important consideration when traveling during a pandemic, and that is personal responsibility. Personal responsibility, yes, everyone is supposed to be cleaning and sanitizing everything perfectly, but you don't know if maybe the person who is cleaning your area was cleaning and got a text from their mom and all of a sudden they forgot to clean that one spot. So your job as a traveler, as a human being, is to sanitize everything enough to make you safe. The CDC recommends sanitizing any knobs, buttons, surfaces, or handles that may be high touch. While I certainly hope your hotel is clean, if you stay at an alternative lodging such as an Airbnb, a hostel, etc., they may not be perfectly clean, and the CDC does recommend cleaning things before you sanitize and then sanitize once they're clean. The CDC also has a list of which disinfectant products are useful for COVID-19. Those are all below in the links. In addition to a few cleansers, you may also want to pack your own disinfectants and bring your own hand sanitizer. Let's talk about a hotel. Hotels have corporate guidelines, and generally they follow all the regulations very closely because it's very relevant for their business. They also have a lot more supervision than Airbnbs, hostels, or other alternative lodging. While I'm sure everyone wants to follow all the recommendations, and no one wants to be the cause of the next COVID-19 outbreak. I just feel more comfortable in a corporate, regulated, streamlined hotel. If I did use alternative lodging, I would not stay in the cheapest Airbnb or in a hostel right now. Let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, face masks. I've read a lot of stories with airline passengers where they refuse to wear a face mask and the passengers are escorted off the airplane and they usually end up on the airline's no-fly list for life. So you probably shouldn't cause a ruckus. But what about a face mask outside? Most face mask requirements exempt people from wearing face masks outside. But outside, it's not always possible to maintain social distancing. So my rule is whenever I'm walking past someone on a path, especially if it's a narrow one, I always put my face mask on. But moreover, it's very important to just always follow guidelines because the rules will change depending on where you are, what city, what town, what state, what country. You should always ask if there's any differences, or if someone tells you there's a difference, don't fight. Just say okay and go with it. Let's talk about what to do when you're traveling. What you can do will vary greatly by your location. Whether restaurants, bars, museums, theaters, nightclubs, etc. are open partially or fully depends extremely a ton on your location. When I was in Chicago, the museums were slowly opening. The restaurants and bars, etc. were usually open if they had a patio, and some with inside seating were open and some weren't. Generally, things were pretty similar to my home state of Minnesota, which is 400 miles away. Tourist sites are really interesting right now. A lot of them are open, meaning you can go there, but they're totally shut down. And a lot of them are just like empty. In Chicago, I went to Navy Pier and it was totally empty. It made for fantastic pictures. Similarly, when I was at Cloud Gate, better known as the Bean, there were fences all around the Bean, and so I could take pictures of the art. Most places are not crowded right now. There will be crowds if you have a protest and things like that, but going to a city with civil unrest is going to be for a future video. Just for a quick recap, traveling during a pandemic is probably not recommended. But if you do, consider the numbers before you go, take personal responsibility and disinfect whatever you want to make you feel safer. Before you go, consider the numbers of the area you're going to visit. Have backup plans ready to go if your numbers have random spikes. Remember that you are responsible for your own health. That means you should sanitize anything that will make you safer, and it's your responsibility at the end of the day. Traveling right now will be a unique experience. Enjoy what you can, and please remember to stay safe, have fun, and keep traveling. I'm Justin Summer with Sunny Travels. Thanks so much for watching.